Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very happy afternoon, everyone. I'm glad today. I'm the Rose TVET among the top on TVET here. Okay. So welcome to all the panelists and of course our audience here. As we know that technical and vocational education and training, in short, is TVET, includes formal, non-formal, and informal learning, prepared young people with knowledge and skill. And 60% of the job created under 11 Malaysia plan are expected to require technical and vocational skills that will increase the skill human capital base. But the question now, are there enough Malaysians trained to fill the human resource needs for the local industry? Has learning incorporated content to allow workers to perform in the Industry 4.0 environment? Has it become industry-driven enough? Are they subject practical relevant? Is public understanding of what TVET is sufficient enough for it to gain necessary support to ensure its success? So this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, we have 4 distinguished speakers and panelists with me. All are my very, very good friends. We have been together, some about less than 10 years, some are more than 10 years here. So without further ado, let me welcome Professor Dr. Ramlee Mustapha from Universiti Pendididikan Sultan Idris. Pass to you, Prof.
This one, okay. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Noraini. I'm nervous because she was my boss when she was the Deputy Vice Chancellor from UPSI. My dear panelists and ladies and gentlemen, actually I do not like to speak during the afternoon because most of us are very sleepy, yeah? But anyhow, during my study in United States for about 13 years, I was there. Some American usually, yeah, when they see me, they are confused. They thought I'm a Mexican, Arab, or Asian. So they say, "Who are you?" "Who are you?" I say, "I'm a Malay." "Yeah, I'm a Malay." So they say, "Who is the Malay?" Because that time Malaysia is not well known in the 80s. So they say, "Who is the Malay?" So I told them, of course, I'm joking to them because I'm not going to tell the truth because I don't know. So I say, "Malay, maybe, yeah? Maybe it's an intermarriage between Indian and Chinese. Because you know my name, Ram is Indian, Lee is Chinese." So maybe that's one theory. Anyhow, I'm sure that intermarriage is a good policy in Malaysia to have this polarization among races to be solved. Okay. Next, I'm an expert in TVET because my PhD also in TVET from Purdue University, USA. What are the key issues? I don't want to repeat what the previous speakers have said. So I'm going to use a lot of photos, pictures, rather than text. Okay, this one. And this guy say, instead of repaying my student loans, I'm returning my diploma. It didn't work. Yeah, because you didn't get the job. Yeah. I want to ask if there is a young, graduates just finished from university, how long did you take to get a job? Maybe 6 months, 1 year. So it's normal to, get a long time to wait for true dream jobs. Okay, we see about the job displacement in 6 Asian countries. Of course, we have Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Of course, and we see as this data, we see that the Singapore has the highest unemployment in terms of the higher education graduates, about 20%. Okay, last time in the morning, some people say, oh, Singapore is a good model, but looking at this data, Singapore has a lot of problems in terms of employment of the higher education graduates, followed by, I think, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, and of course, Malaysia is quite. But I'm not sure about the post-COVID situation, even if this data can be used to show that. And of course, COVID-19 has transformed TVET in many ways. What do you think the most problematic COVID implication on TVET? Because TVET is not normal academic, education. TVET is a practical, skill-based education, which means that a lot of practical need to be done. And I wrote in New Straits Times on the challenges on online teaching. Of course, in this newspaper, I asked rhetorically that, how are you going to teach welding and automotive online? Tell me. Anybody can answer? Of course, I'm not against online teaching, but it should be appropriate, Of course, automotive can be also used online for certain parts, but in practical, you need to have the blended teaching instead of all 100% online teaching. Okay. Okay, this cartoon, the girl and the dog. And you can see the conversation down there. Sorry. The girl say, why you are not skilled as the previous generation of the dogs, like the previous generation of the dogs. And this dog say, of course, in this case, the dog can speak. We are coronavirus generation, no practice or just online. Yeah, these are generation. Maybe some people will, will answer that during interview with the industry when they say, yeah, you are not very skilled. And they can say, yeah, not because our, fault, because of the coronavirus fault. Okay, how learning is changed? 500 years ago, okay, we have apprentice system. You know what is apprentice system? Apprentice is one-to-one. The masters, craftsmen with the trainees, what we call it apprentice. But why this system is not, workable now? Why the apprentice system is not workable? I'm a style of professor, asking a lot of questions in my class. In fact, if you can answer my question, you can go home early today. Because apprentice system is only one-to-one. It will produce, very few skilled people. That's why they change into school system. School system, you can train a lot of students in order to be skilled. And then later on, we're going to have classroom system, and then we use internet. And finally, now at the fourth industrial revolution, we are going to use AI, artificial intelligence. And how digital transforming our work? Of course, in collaboration with industry, our students should be more mobile. I used to be visiting scholars in, Germany, Australia, University of Sydney, Germany, Technical University of Dortmund. In Japan, I was a visiting professor in Nagoya University. So I can see a lot of different TVET models that have been implemented in different countries. Of course, I admire German system because they are very quality. Their infrastructure is very first class. Of course, it will attract the student because the infrastructure is very good. And then different with our system is that in TVET, in Malaysia, especially at the lower level, we only accept those who fail the system, fail the academic, then you enter them into TVET. And this is not happening in the advanced country. Advanced country, they will select the best one to be in TVET system. In fact, the teachers for TVET in Germany must have a master's degree in order to teach the TVET. Okay, important qualifications and skill for Industry 4. So you need to have digital literacy, ability to work with data. So data is now the replacement of oil. Last time oil was expensive, oil was precious. Now it's no more oil, but data is more precious. And you have to have technical knowledge and also personal skill that we talk about soft skill and also employability skill. What are characteristics of employability that the employers are looking? So the employers, based on this research, they are looking for those who are prepared, positive interest in their job, dedication, team spirit, readiness to face challenges and hardship, and work-related competencies such as can apply theory in the working environment and can speak English strong. These are some of the future skills. One of those is design mindset. Why is it important to have a design mindset? Because it can cross all the discipline, design mindset. Of course, we are engineers, have been trained to, design. Why is it design mindset is important? You see this picture. What is wrong with this picture? What is wrong with this design? The stupid engineers design this way and the people using the other way, Okay, next. What happened to this toilet? The tissue is so far from the toilet seat. Who's the stupid designer? Okay, what's wrong with this balcony? There is no door for this balcony. Who designed it? And all of a sudden in the classroom there is a door upstairs. Who's going to jump from that door to the class? And this one is the socket for electricity and the water coming out from it. These all a real example, yeah? And the telephone, why is the telephone outside of the box? Yeah? This is in UK, yeah? And this thing, can you play that one? This is how we train our welder. Stupid welder. He's welding on the rail, but his head inside the rail. His head cannot be moved outside of the rail. So he doesn't have a design mindset. So we have to train them. So we need to teach them differently from the yesterday. Innovation is just things that you do for improvement. Can we call this innovation? Okay, tell me. Can we call this innovation? Innovation? Anybody? Is it innovation? Do you want to use it? No, you look stupid, right? So this is not innovation. Because it new but not useful. This one, you eat the noodles, no splashing. So it's new but not useful. So innovation is new and useful. So this must be taught. Is this an innovation? Yeah, could be. And we have to change our mindset. This is what happened to our system policy. We put the cart in front of the horse. How come the horse will be moving? It's not the strongest species survive, nor the intelligent. It's the most adaptable to the systems. We need to adaptable. In COVID-19, we have to adapt it to the environment. Okay, I wrote in News Time also, study find Malaysia stress. We are stressful, right? During the first lockdown. That's why we need good hormones. We need to teach and induce good hormone in order to teach our students. Okay, I just finished. We need to have dopamine is good. Oxytocin make you more human. Dopamine make you excited. Oxytocin make you more human. Endorphin make you happy. So this is the case like this is endorphin. A lot of endorphin here. It's a wedding. I will show this the last one. Okay, endorphin is rising up during the wedding, right? Yeah, I'm wedding. Thank you. I have a lot of slides, but I have my time, so forgive me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's fun and food for thought. Yeah, I think we really have to change our mindset. Now with the COVID, we have to be distant. Last time I used to have all my panelists next to me, very near. Now it's 1 meter away. Okay, so before we proceed with the second panelist, I think we open question from the floor. Any question? Not yet. All right, okay. If not, then we'll come back once all the 4 panelists has finished their presentation. So the next one is Dr. Adato Soriganis. He's a well experienced in digital TVET, and also he will share more on digital TVETs and funding. Pass to you, Dato.
Thank you. I don't know whether I can create that fun environment with what this professor has created, but I wrote down some notes, and of course I prepared a presentation in the morning. You can understand that after our this MCO, we all are very busy trying to catch up things, but yet I can make some time to put on my thoughts on paper. Can I have the clicker, please? I stole the clicker, right? Okay, let me share with you. There are many interesting things happening today in this education summit. But two things I'm very certain about. One is the extraordinary evidence of our human creativity in all their presentations, right? That we need to applaud, right? Number two, we all are here for an interesting topic of education, right? We are educators, right? Those who are sitting here as well as the other side is also considered educators. Why education is interesting is because education takes us into a unknown future, uncharted area actually. We plan something for our children or for our learners, but something else will happen, all right? So we are learning by mistake. We educators, we need to adapt, as what our professor says just now. But simply you must understand something. Things are a bit different when it comes to education because we are simply different, all of us. We are wired differently, all right? How many of y'all have you got children? Please raise your hand. Right? How many of you all got more than 2 children? 2 or more, right? I bet you that you all will agree with me on this, that if you have more than two or more children, they all are wired differently. Can you agree with me on that? So when you have at least 2 or more children or wired differently, or you can see 2 different characters, how do you see it in school? So many children wired differently. So education must be diverse, right? So we have to continually improve. Having said that, I would like to, now we'll come back to TVET now, right? Yeah. You see, before I go to TVET, you must understand, before we go global, let's understand the Malaysian ecosystem of TVET first. Apart from services industry, TVET can be categorized. Upon completing a TVET pathway, there is 3 different sections that we must understand that TVET graduates aspire or they end up with, right? The first section will be the bottom one, where the skilled workers, the TVET graduates, these are entry-level skills. These are masses, big number, big chunk. And then we move up to the system integrators and managers. These are mid-skilled TVET graduates. And then we go up, these are highly skilled people. All right. So sometimes there's a confusion that we want to create TVET graduates, but I will come to that. But let's go into this. It is undeniable that as to date, TVET is now recognized as the most powerful tool to boost economy. I got to know about TVET maybe 22 years ago. I'm into that industry. I think I've been hearing a lot of things about TVET the last maybe 5 to 6, 7 years. People are talking about TVET. They see it as a business. They see that they need to create a lot of avenues for TVET, right? But our government too has recognized skills development and offered various initiatives, all right, to massively skill people. Now, what happened to those people? You will be shocked to know the figures because TVET is actually championed by Ministry of Human Resources, Department of Skills. We have more than, you believe it or not, more than 1 million TVET graduates out there. More than 1 million. What are they doing right now? Right? Let's go to the second slide. This is the interesting part. They ended up here. Whereby, if you can see there, skilled workers, TVET graduates, they are massively skilled and they end up at the lower economical hierarchy. But in order for us to achieve development in the developed countries, right, we need to have TVET development in par with the economic development as well. So we need to move them ahead. All right, one step ahead so that they can be mid-skilled or highly skilled to create the high-income economy. So, as for now, TVET is revolutionized with IR4 skills to transform towards digitization of nation, which will result in injection towards skilled workers from entry level, training them towards the upper level. This is my point of argument or my thoughts here that I would like to project to you, right? Now, why this is necessary? If you look at TVET for digital transformation, if you are skilling people and they end up with the lower hierarchy, then we cannot move them forward and we cannot champion the high income economy scale here. We cannot scale them, right? Because they are aspired to move towards from the lower hierarchy to the upper hierarchy. So how do we do that? The government strategy should focus on the IR4 verticals, which is the IoT, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, drone technology, data science, and customer experience, like how Prof was saying, design thinking and so on. So once you empower them with this, it's easier to empower a skilled worker with these skills, and we can have a big chunk number moving up to the second tier or the first tier. This is the idea. So how are we going to do that? You see, everyone talks about statistics. Everyone talks about the problem that we face. But how are we going to achieve this? Right? I'm a small-time TVET player in the industry. But how I am achieving this is simply by looking into the immediate future. You see, we must understand we have the distant future and also the immediate future. Distant future is something that we talk about, achieving in 20, 30 years. I'm talking about next 5 years. What are we going to do? All right. Now, first we need to understand what will work look like in 2025. Right. Now, are we picturing this as work in 2025? Even now, the working environment has changed to this. If you understand what I'm trying to say, right? You get machines to work for you in a smarter way. All right, you don't do redundant, repetitive works. So highly skilled people are the relevant people to handle these robots. All right. Now, second fact: what will products looks like in 2025? We must understand that, right? Is it going to look like this or like this? As the earlier speaker, he mentioned about data and so on, but the UI itself, the user interface itself has changed. As you walk in, you see a thermal scanner actually scanned you and then recognize your face and say, okay, you are the person coming in and so on, right? There is no physical interaction at all, right? It's just that you're coming and scanning and you're walking in, right? So this is how the product going to look like in 2025. Even now, we are actually moving towards that, right? And if the work area and the product have changed, then in that case, the learning system also got to change, right? Right? Now, how will we learn and prepare all for this in 2025? You see, we have conventional classrooms. We have big infrastructure. Government spend so much of money in infrastructure, right? But all we need to transform is more like this, right? We can bring classroom into augmented and virtual reality world. And the truth is, I cannot tell you that like how you how you hear from YouTube or you watch a lot of things, documentary and so on. The truth is, it's going to be a little bit of everything. We cannot transform this overnight, right? And what do we already know about TVET in 2025, right? We know that work is getting more and more complex. People are going for precision, accuracy, and data has become their most vulnerable thing that they focus on. And demands from employers and trainees change quicker than the TVET reality, right? Training needs to take its complexity into account. Training needs to be faster. Training needs to be more adaptive. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to just scroll through. Just give me 2 minutes, I'll wrap this up. Right? And here's the jackpot question that I want to ask you. What is the link between all three aspects for employers, TVET, institution, and learners? Let's look at some trends from elsewhere, which is in Finland and Germany, right? They have incorporated blended learning and flipped classroom, right? Theoretical knowledge, study at home. Don't waste time coming and listening to lectures, right? Because lectures is basically interpreting from the notes, right? Read it. Second, micro learning. Learning has to change. You have to keep things for a TVET graduate, right? You have to make upskilling in 10 minutes, right? Topics has to be broken down into small topics. And mobile learning. The devices is your mobile phone, right? The gadget that you're going to communicate is your mobile phone. Take it wherever you go. It's like a Netflix. Netflix is well received, right? So learning can be on a Flix as well. And game-based learning. The best way to upskill somebody is to give them the scenario. See whether they can apply the skills they learn in the scenario. So game-based learning is one thing. And virtual augmented reality allow them to make mistake in the simulation world. Right? Some important steps, which I think I'll skip this. I will email anyone. If any one of you interested, you can communicate with the organizer. I can email you the slides. This is what we have been doing, and we are transferring really good because we get our skilled graduates into the industry faster than they reckon. Right? Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Right.
Thank you very much, Adato Soriganis. From the first two speakers, we can see that all of us need to change, especially during this TVET. But somehow or other, we have 14 states in Malaysia. Some are in urban, some is in suburban, some is in rural, and some like this morning from Sabah and also in Sarawak shared to us about their difficulties online learning and so forth. So this is where we Malaysian need to change our mindset, as what Prof. Ramlee was saying just now. How do we want to make our children really exposed into all these TVET skill and also STEM skill? When we talk about TVET here, from the two speakers, we can see that it's not only the theory that we are learning. We also have to blend with the technology. With the technology can be digital. It can also be any enhancement. I brought one teacher here. Can Cikgu Hartini stand up? She's from a common school in Kelantan, but she has changed her student from nowhere like STEM or science, but from her commitment to change. Yes, in Kelantan, sometimes online is difficult in all this thing. But from what the two speakers have shared, it can make it happen. The only thing is that we have to change our mindset. So this Cikgu has changed her mindset, and her school is a common school, but they are Form 4 classes. From one classes of science, they have turned into 2 classes of Form 4 science. And now one of the class has turned into STEM hub, where all the talking about the infrastructure, the digital. Dato Sri, they has make it fun learning. So the challenges is there, and we have independent like going to be next month 63 years independent. So why can't we at par with Singapore? Singapore 30, 40 years back they are also Malaysian. Because like what this morning speaker said, 80% of their STEM education content and skill has been solved at primary and secondary. So let us work together, industry and so forth. And I'm also very lucky to know the next speaker very well, not very well in terms of duration, but because, I don't know, I was just being appointed as one of the GMB members for one of the condominium apartment, which I have to manage billion. 100 million asset. So I have to learn a lot on TVET, on STP and so forth. He will share with us in a while on how his experience and from the industry perspective that TVET is very, very important, not only to the engineers or aviation, aerospace and so forth, but it's also people like me. I have to learn all the technical parts. So let's hear from our next speaker, Engineer Zaki Kudus, from one that the industry. We will definitely, I'm enjoying when I'm talking to him, all the scientific vocabulary which we pick up and I make my job easier. So pass to you, Zaki.
Terima kasih, Prof. Dato. That was a very welcoming introduction from Dato. So I don't have any presentation slide like others panels do, because maybe, I don't know whether it's right or not, they are all educators, where I'm industries. So it is a very clear demarcation between the educators and industry. I mean, all those nowadays, people, universities ataupun the education industries try to match these things together, because end of the day, the graduates from universities is going to pursue in terms of the industry how to make the country prosper, to generate the economy. Okay, just a little introduction of my involvement in industry. I'm practicing consulting engineer, whereby we designing power plants for multinational companies such as Petronas, TMB, Malakoff, and all sorts. And then at the same time, I also becoming what we call this the industrial panels for most of the universities, especially on the local universities there. And then we are also sometimes have been appointed by this local giants company, the corporate Petronas, TMB, Malakoff, and all sorts of things, to vet through their candidates, their employee candidates before they come into the big corporate giant. Okay? So, in other words, I'm dealing with all these TVETs from I mean, especially from the whoever graduate from all this university. And then I can discover that there's got huge gap. Okay? Let me share you my experience in terms of on these TVET things. Back in 2005, when we got the job in university to do this, they've got a lot of piping networks, whereby we are having problem to find welders to do this piping. At that time, early 2000, we don't have any what we call this online apps to discover that where this di mana kita nak find all these multi-skilled workers to do all this welding. I don't find it any. Okay, we don't have any at that time. The CIDB, the JKR, they don't have any much what we call this the contractor, which is specific to do all this welding at that time. So from mouth to mouth, and then we discover that okay, they have got one bengkel in Jinjang, Kepung. So because we need more people to do all this job, and then I went there with my partners. Okay, we have a look. They've got a very old bengkel. Okay, yard, barn, I call it in Jinjang. And then inside there, I discovered that they got one big man with all tattoos all around his body. And then they have got around 17 to 18 people. 17 to about 20 people. Very young chaps. It's around 15 to 17, less than 20. And then they are learning to one milling machine at that time. So I'm very surprised. Hang on a minute, what are they doing? So they learn using one machine, which is a milling machine. They are learning from one machine with one supervisor, which is a very fierce supervisor, and then carry a very long rotan. So if they make any fall, and then the rotan is going to hit them. Right? So at that time, I was feeling that, hang on a minute, we have got this IKBN, we got this IKM, we have got this a lot of what we call this the very skillful punya education placement whereby some of them, one student can carry one milling machine. Whereas at this Jinjang, it's only one machine and then they have got 17 people learn through it. Where are these graduates? Okay? Right, so that is one example. So I cannot find all these people. Where all these IKM students, where are they? Okay, at the same time, fast forward, 2015, we have got another big job. It's about 250 million jobs that require weldings, okay, for Petronas. And then I did interview for this welding inspector at that time. Okay, they came to me. They have got many of them. The salary scale, we are talking about 35,000 to 50,000 Dato Sri. So it's very, very lucrative job. Very lucrative job. Okay, they came to me with all this jacket, Harley Davidson jacket, because they are wealthy. So we have got market for this. Definitely, they have got market for this, right? And then asking for salary about 40,000 at that time. I don't earn that much, but then I need to pay people with this skill for 40,000, 42,000, and then we require a lot of them to do this job. So what I'm trying to say over here, they've got huge gap over here. They've got one coming out from this IKM also ever. And then they need to develop their skill up to this level whereby you can earn up to 40,000, 50,000 a month. Okay? They have got a lot, it's a huge gap. So, Dato Sri was right. We are talking about 1 million people. 1 million, this TVET people, which is hanging around, doesn't have any job. Okay? It's very simple. If you are having problem, say, I just put a simple analogy over here. If you are having a leaking problem, a plumbing leaking problem, where do you find it? Where do you find your plumber? At that time, they had a very yellow placard dekat all the landscape tree. Plumber, Mr. Lee, all this number, and then you call him. Okay? Now, where do you find all these people that require a very high skill job? We have got apps nowadays, yeah? And then I discovered that along 10 years, since 2005, all these people, so they have these kind of things. Okay? They become contractors for Petronas, say. Okay? So the only thing is, as educators, I'm talking about from the industry perspective, as educators, you need to blend all this, what we call this, the skill of being entrepreneurship, put it away. Okay? Because the market is very huge. The only thing is you don't put these right people to the right position. Okay? So as an educator as well, so sometimes we need to do more efforts. Because end of the day, we need to put all our graduates into industry. There's no choice for it. Okay, they need to be prepared. Okay, because based on our experience, they've got when the graduate came to us, become our engineer or whatsoever. Some of them is very good. I have to put it that way. But then some of them, I tell you, they're having problem. They are struggling. Excel, you know what I mean? The Excel spreadsheets, the words, the Microsoft Office. This is the basic principle for them to prepare when you pursue for this industry, when you want to come for work. So we have to take our time, our valuable time, to teach them all these kind of things. So rightfully, we can teach them for 2 or 3 years to become a senior engineer or whatsoever. Now you become 5 years at our own cost. So please, educators, take this thing seriously, So please prepare our student prepared for this industry, Okay. Okay, how to solve these things? Improve teaching skill. That is part of the educators do. Improve, review, all these kind of things. I've been to Tokyo many times. I've been to Tokyo just because to visit all this exhibition. It's a free exhibition. People all around the world exhibit their product, exhibit their service at this exhibition. We have got in KLCC. 1 year, I don't know, tens of times. probably hundreds of times a year. So we should bring our students to expose, give them exposure. What are they is going to have for the next 3 or 5 years? Go over there for free. Okay? So I think it is an effort to all educators get prepared to our graduates before they are going to the industry. Right? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Recently, OECD reports just came out, and I think about 13 jobs that related to TVETs and STEM in Malaysia is mismatched with our curriculum. That's why our TVETs and STEM graduates not able to get a job. That's why, like what Engineer Zaki was sharing just now, all of us, not only universities, but also Ministry of Education, Ministry of Higher Education, MOSTI, and all of us here, we have to work hand in hand to see that our curriculum from cradle to graveyard, I mean, cradle to carrier lah, actually, but, until graveyard. So, are the STEMs and the TVET curriculum, education. When we talk about STEM TVETs or education, like educators and industry talking just now, we are not only talking about physics, chemistry, biology, additional mathematics, but we also must also inculcate the creativity, the innovation, the problem solving, the critical thinking. That's why Engineer Zaki was mentioning just now, some of our graduates came to their place to do the jobs. They cannot do even spreadsheet to present the data. So it's consume a lot of times and money to the industry to retrain our students. So these are the things that we have to change. We are going to celebrate our 60 years of independence soon. If we don't change, like what some of the speakers this morning saying, we're going to be fall far, far away. I was invited under Ministerial Economics Forum in Kuching last year. I'm really surprised to see Vietnam, their startup company has blown up under the e-commerce and the digital platform. So, when we go to Hanoi, we see a lot of motorcycles around and the traffics, but they are go-getter in terms of onlines and digitals and the TVETs and the startup. So I think let's move together. This is the platform to start during this, coming to our 63 National Day to put forward like what Mr. Zaki was saying just now. And then we have to solve our problem from cradle to career. So I think the next speaker will share with us about artificial intelligence. He has done a lot also to help our country. And so I will pass to Mr. Hisham to share his ideas. Pass to you, Mr. Hisham.
Assalamualaikum and good evening. When I was invited to this by Dato, I agreed without even knowing what the topic was. So at some point in time, she told me that it was going to be about TVET, and which I had very little knowledge about, and I'll be honest about that to you. So I said that I would try to blend in with what I know. And a little bit of background. I used to be an educationist. I used to teach in College Marabanting quite a long time ago. And I taught in the International Baccalaureate program, which exposed me to a different form of teaching, and very, very innovative and very thought-provoking in its approach. And after teaching, I went into mobile telecommunications and became best wireless developer for a number of years. Then I went into payment systems. Anyone you ever use FPX when you do online payments? Yeah, I'm the founder actually together with another partner of that product, and it's now used by millions of people on a daily basis. And it took years in order to get Bank Negara Malaysia and therefore the government to adopt the system, which was the interoperability of the banks at the online level. Years. Then we, quite recently, last year, I was part of the team that developed the first, one of Asia's first online bail system. Again, it took 2 years for them to believe in it, but once it took off, it just took off. Because a lot of times, the government cannot believe that people will adopt something so quickly. It's now collecting 2 to 3 million ringgit per week. Yeah, the MCO especially accelerated it. We are living, and now, today, I'm here. We are now, together with my team, our consortium is working on an artificial intelligence project with the government. And it is a project which will encompass all citizens and people living in Malaysia. It will be multiple platforms that are interoperable rather than being standalones and not talking to each other. It means that from an education standpoint, let's face it, all economics is about supply and demand. Whether it is products or whether it is services, it is about supply and demand. Now, in the case of industry like us, like in my field, I need a lot of programmers, but I also need a lot of people who can think very quickly on their feet. And it doesn't matter what their background is. You see, I've come from a background, my training was in English literature and political science. But yet, I've gone into technology very, very intensely. And it's because there's something in my DNA which I think is entrepreneurial. May I ask, how many of you here in this room are entrepreneurs? May I know? Okay, there are a few of you, and I bet all of you know some entrepreneurs. And the one thing that you will notice, the key thing amongst them is that they know how to pivot. Because all entrepreneurs will face multiple challenges on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on an annual basis. It doesn't matter how much you make. You make 10 million in 1 year and you might lose 20 in the next year. And what happens when you are faced with that challenge? You pivot. You do not give up. You do not give up and you face up to the next challenge. That's what we need. But how do you define that when you're interviewing? How do you define that? When you're looking for that somebody who is able to pivot, you might have somebody who comes to you. I'm trained in JavaScript. I'm very good at that. But then again, you tell him that, okay, fine, you're very well qualified, but I need you to learn sales as well. I might need you to learn other aspects. Is he willing to accept that? So the point I'm trying to make is that if you are in industry or in the education sector, you need to ingrain into your people that in today's world, in 2020 and beyond, you have to be flexible enough to move in multiple directions without losing focus, without losing that drive to get to beyond the next point, because things are moving so fast. And why is it moving so fast? Okay, what is happening right now is that artificial intelligence, AHAR 4.0, in actual fact, I'm dealing with people who are talking about 5.0 already. Yeah, they 4.0 is like yesterday's news. Yeah, but they are beyond that already. And these industries, there are people in this country who are doing extremely well. Okay, from a TVET perspective, did you know? Okay, have any of you been on a flight on an Airbus? Airbus A380? I bet all of you know what it is. Did you know that the wing was designed out in Kota Damansara? 100% designed in Kota Damansara? I bet you didn't know that. Have you seen that Bata building as you drive past the highway? There's a building on the left of the highway. That office is there. And it is a company called Strand Engineering. You can check them out. We're working with them. And they are brilliant engineers. Very quietly, 90% of their revenues are coming from overseas. Only 10% of their revenue coming from Malaysia. And the revenue coming from Malaysia, susah nak collect duit. So difficult to collect the money. 10% only, but 90% collection from overseas. Yeah? So they did the right thing. They did the right thing by not relying. And this company and this consortium of ours is actually transforming Selangor into an aviation and aeronautical hub. It doesn't mean that we're going to build planes here. Forget it. We're not going to build them. That's leave it to somebody else. But the design of it is being done locally. For this presentation, I'm going to present to you some data. Oh my God, I only got to the beginning of it. Oh God, I am long-winded, aren't I? Excuse me, forgive me. But a lot of it is due to Dr. Stephen McKee, and he is the founder of LabTech Limited. Okay, the role of schools in industry. This is what we're going to face, yeah? Automobile, virtual net, TV net. What are we going to do? So, what I want to show you is actually, at this point here, if you see the green line there, that is actually in the year 1850. And that was when the Industrial Revolution happened. And you see a huge spike in the productivity and the GDP of the US. Yeah? And if you see down there, Japan is next. It means that this country, if it is to increase its GDP, we have to take this great leap forward. China has done that. We need to do that. And the education industry needs to feed us with people of a certain nature. In the 60s and 70s, Singapore was factor-driven, meaning that it built things, plastic boxes and stuff like that, and so that Hong Kong did very well. And then it went into investment-driven economy, same as Malaysia. Now, we're going into what's called the innovation-driven economy, which is knowledge-intensive. And in this field, in this area, we need people of a certain nature. Whenever I meet people, unfortunately, my nephew could not make it today here. He has an MBA, supply chain, was his degree. But during the MCO, he decided to take something which is called data science. If I were you, and as parents, as educationists and so on, tell your people, tell your family, tell everyone, know as much as you can about data, because as Prof mentioned, it is the new oil. You have to understand that it is the key driver in this current economy. We are now faced with a crisis, and fortunately, we've been through quite a few economic crises, but nothing like this. And what you are seeing, but fortunately, almost all countries are really screwed up at the moment. So it's a race amongst the rabbits. Who will win this race? And if Malaysia is to emerge as a power in ASEAN, and this is predicted actually, we will be the next developed nation in ASEAN. If we are to reach that, we must be able to engage. And the best way to do this, I feel, that is that educational institutions must engage with industry and be very, very tightly intertwined. I've dealt with, unfortunately, I've had some rather unpleasant experiences before with a lot of education institutions which live in an ivory tower, which actually do not know what it's like to sell. Really. They teach you the theories of selling, but they've never sold a nasi lemak in their life. Never. They do not understand what it takes to actually produce a nasi lemak from scratch, put it out the street, and take the money from the customer and put it into their pocket. So on that note, I'd like to say that we're hoping that everybody will step up to the plate. We are on the verge of big things in Malaysia, provided we do the right thing. And it takes the harnessing of everyone here within this room and outside, government included and industry included, for us to achieve that level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hisham. We were from the same school, English College, Maktab Sultan Abu Bakar, Johor Bahru. We produce a lot of leaders, a lot of business. Robot Kok, he's also from our school, yeah? among the richest in Malaysia. So with that, I'll open to the floors. Any question? Any question? No question? Okay, yes. Your names, your institution, and your question.
My name is Asma. I'm just a grandma. I see my children, my chuchus growing up in the school system. My question is, earlier on we heard about the concept of experiential learning. And I think to move forward, we really need to redesign the way we teach and we learn. And I think the concept of experiential learning is fundamental to how we learn as we do things. So I wonder whether, the concept of experiential learning is taught in our schools, right from primary to universities.
All right, thank you. I think Prof. Ramlee, you want to share something?
Thank you very much. I can tell you about the history of the experiential learning. It began with John Dewey in 1930s. But the gist of this philosophy is that experience is very important in learning. So experience, that's why I remember when I was a kid, my teachers, primary school teachers brought me to the zoo. Why the hell they are bringing us to zoo? To see our distant relative there? Anyhow, because of the experience is very important. Of course, the behaviorists say, not experience, but the practice. Yeah? Behaviorists say practice lead to learning. And the cognitive say thinking leads to learning. So thinking, practice, and experience, these all three should mark up the holistic of the learning itself. So I agree with you that as a grandmother, I'm a grandfather. Actually, I have 5 grandchildren. Anyhow, of course, you need your children and grandchildren to become the future. The future. They are the futures that we need them to, be productive and be a good citizen and to be the contributors of the nation. So I think one of the curriculum that we have to look now is the lacking of experiential learning in terms of the graduates. That's why some universities now have 2+2, meaning that 2 years in industry and 2 years in university, because they don't believe that the whole university experience will benefit them. So I agree with that connotations that work-based learning in industry as your classroom, industry as your, training ground should be more than 6 months. 2 years is better than 6 months. Now we have industrial training 6 months, which is not enough for me. Thank you for your input. I hope I answer your question, Grandma.
Other panels? Anybody? Dato Sri? Okay. Okay.
Excuse me. I don't have chuchus yet, but I have 2 daughters, and hopefully I will have chuchus at some point. But I've already made plans on how I'm going to engage with my chuchus, inshallah. And one of the things that I would like to I wouldn't call it impose, but I would like to have from an experiential learning perspective for children is to let them touch things. Yeah, a lot of times I notice that amongst the young, they're not letting the kids today are playing with their phones. The phone has become their digital babysitter, and that's very sad. By experiential learning, it's very important to let them go out, take them to orchards and let them pluck fruits. And then from the fruits, you can start counting with them. I'll give an example. My daughter, they learned and memorized the multiplication tables before they went into Standard 1. And that really helped them in school. And I did it with song. So during rides in the car, we were singing 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2. And after a while, it became 1 to 12 was, by 5 years old, it was already memorized. And it really, really helped them. From a school perspective, when you have children, when you have young children, my particular passion, my particular advice, if I may, is to let them learn the numbers very, very early on, because it's going to be very important. That's my 2 cents worth on when it comes to experience.
Thank you. All right.
Jeffrey Louise again. No leadership question this time. The question here is, the stage has got 2 divides. One is very much on the education, TVET. The other one, speaks about experience and being in the field of learning. But what's missing here is, I think that while we speak about TVET, as much as we design the TVET education in classroom, I believe what the other 2 panelists on the left or on the right, on my right, I think what you said is really true. You really need to put people engaged. The question is our TVET education in that direction? I believe not. Because we still want to have it in a classroom. And therefore, we still have that missing link. Now, to give a very simple example, I think it's very well said by Hisham just now. Well, I teach martial arts myself, on top of education and whatnot. When I bring somebody to the judo floor, what I do is I make the students fight first. I don't teach them skills. Because the moment you fight, you know exactly how to engage. You see? So that experience is something that's really important. But the question here is, we come here, we speak about this in a forum, in a summit, we go back. What's happening? Where are these changes being made? So the question is, are we going to make these changes? And where do we start? Thank you.
Anybody want to answer?
Thank you for the input, or more than a question is an input for all of us. I do agree with you. We have been facing this TVET issues whereby, if I'm not mistaken, what are you trying to say is that instead of classroom, these people need to be in the industry, then they can learn more. In Malaysia, now we are having the industry acceptance, right? Where previously, not everyone in the system, they treat apprentice and they treat these TVET students as, right? So the perception of a company when they take in students from the TVET background, they treat them as a cheap labor, whereby they pay them less, right? That's the idea, right? But if you go back to the system in how it's originated in Australia, right? These TVET students, they go to industry with the age of 16 or 17, right? And they learn good skills, and the entire TVET program runs parallel with their modules, or the completion of programs can be done with the industry. So here now we are gaining acceptance from the industry with regulation, policy, and so on. But what we are lacking in terms of in the classroom training or in the TVET itself is the trainers, right? We call them lecturers. You see, so when you train someone in terms of TVET, we don't call them lecturers, we call them instructors, right? Whereby the classroom management or the workspace management must be like in the industry. You shouldn't be a conventional where you lecture and then they take down notes and they can acquire skills. No, there's not going to be the thing. So I do agree with you. It got to be very much inclined to industry, but we need to produce more trainers. It's got to be attractors to bring in instructors from the industry to formulate them to teach TVET students. As we speak, things are happening, but it's more like industry driven. Yes, I have attended hundreds of seminars, conferences when it comes to TVET globally and also in Malaysia. But changes are coming, but in Malaysia it's a little slow, right? Because we need to make the top to down, we have to take the top to down approach instead of bottom to above approach. Yeah, that's my opinion.
I think TVET is in thing now. Recently, I think Minister of Mosti, YBKJ, has said that he will relook into the salary for TVET. They want to, raise the salary. I think this is a very good move. We should support that. But on top of the good salary, we in the education also must work closely with the industry. Because I went to Singapore and Finland. Why they are forefront now? Because the industry really hand in hand starting into their primary school, their secondary school. Instead, their assignment, their project in Singapore is asking the question by the industry. So they start building chips, or those platform. And some of those students in the polytechnic in Singapore or university, they are millionaire now because they design apps. While they study, while they do their education, their assignment is designed by the industry, not by us lecturers, like what Mr. Isham was saying just now. The lecturer teaching about entrepreneur, about selling, but they themselves never sell. So this is the experience we should change. I think what KSI is doing here, Tan Sri Michael has been doing for last how many years, should be doing it continuously this, and we should be doing it well and to make it success. So I think we're really having fun listening to all those regarding the TVETs. And welcome Dato Mazli, our former Minister of Education. So with that, I think all our panelists here deserve a big applause. And then thank you very much. And I'll pass back to our MC.